How are you doing? It is the very last day of September, and it has been a month I can't explain. When this month started, I manifested for it to be a beautiful month, a month full of success, full of good vibes, and inshallah. But I don't know. God decided that I am one of his strongest soldiers, so he should give me a test that is so heavy, extremely heavy actually. So I lost my dad. If you follow me on social media, and even I posted a YouTube short video about it, you'll see that I lost my dad this month. Today marks exactly 2 weeks since we laid him to rest. I thought I should make this video to just, first of all, thank everybody who supported me during that time, everybody who stood by me during this time, the people who promised to send me vodka and the huge crepes and the lamea yogurt and take me on a small vacation. I am still waiting for you people to do that. Like, it has really been a hectic time. Emotionally, it has taken a toll on all of us as a family, and it has really been very difficult. So I want to first of all start by clearing the air. It's not even clearing the air, it's just telling you. So I've hosted my father and my mother on when I turned 28 I think that was last year, but one I hosted them on my YouTube channel. They shared their story on being a discordant couple. My father was HIV negative. My mother is still HIV positive. A lot of you ask how this has happened, how this is possible. I also don't know, but discordant couples exist, whereby one is very much HIV negative, the other one is HIV positive. Some of you think he's a carrier, he has, I don't know what receptors that don't get HIV. I don't know about that. What I know is that even on his deathbed, he was tested at the hospital. I don't know why they thought that HIV test was necessary, but they did test him and he was still HIV negative. So my father did not die from HIV or AIDS related complications. Somebody even came to my DM and was like, how come my father died before my mother, considering my mother is the one who is HIV positive? Guys, I don't choose people who die, okay? That is God's work and death's work. So I don't know. And that is really a very weird question, but well, it is what it is. So my father has had diabetes. He has been diabetic for a long time. I think from 2015, 16 thereabout. He got it when he was out of the country. He used to live in Botswana. So by the time he was coming back, he was still on treatment. He always managed his diabetes through treatment. So last year he got COVID-19. I also did a video about that, and I interviewed him after he survived COVID and he shared his experience. In fact, we had a feeling that we would lose him last year because he was a diabetic, and you know what COVID was doing to diabetics. But he survived, and he came back home to us, and we were very happy, by the way. So a few months after he was discharged, he started having convulsions. Like, you would think he has I don't know how you call kifafa, like he would have like seizures and sometimes pass out, and now it became worse because sometimes he will even get aggressive. So my mom took him to hospital. there's a time he lost consciousness, so my mom took him to hospital at Kilome. He got treatment. He was, though by that time he was not conscious, he was being fed through the tubes, and they even put him a catheter on him. So after he got well, he started fighting the doctors. My father was a very stubborn man, so he hated being in hospital. So he was discharged, but the seizures never went away. He lost his memory, he lost his speech. So my mom took him to Makindu Sub-County Hospital. They did a CT scan that time, and they said that there was some white matter in his brain, so he needed an MRI. So we proceeded to do an MRI, and they said that the conclusive result was that he had a mild stroke, but it was manageable through treatment. So he started treatment for the mild stroke. He had been taking treatment for a very long time, like not a very long time, it's basically just been a year since he was diagnosed. So he was taking his treatment well, his memory came back, he started talking again, his speech was back. So we were happy. Sometimes he will forget you. I'll call him and he'll ask me who I am. Sometimes he will be talking to me and he'll tell me, I have gotten better, and I would ask him, I know you're getting better, but how are you feeling? He's like, the first disease I had that is to refer to is diabetes. That one is feeling okay now. I am, but his sugar levels never really stabilized because they were always above 20. There's a time his sugar levels were at 44. So every time he became ill, the sugar levels used to spike. So up until July this year, he was okay. And then I came back from Canada. Then it was during the elections, and he started becoming ill. So he started saying he was beginning to feel the same way he felt when the first time, the first time when he had lost his memory, he had lost his speech and all that. So my mom took him to hospital because now his speech was completely gone. He started drooling, and now he started losing control of his own body. Like he would even try to do simple things such as going to the loo, and it would be really hard for him. So my mom called me and said that they were taking him back to Kisii Teaching Referral Hospital, where he had been diagnosed with a stroke initially, but he was going to, for his clinic appointments, he had been going to Kenyatta, the Doctor's Plaza, to get his medication and all that. So this time my mom told me, let me take him back to Kisii so that we can try and see how to salvage the situation. So the doctor in Kisii, the first question she asked him was, when did you stop taking your medication? That is the diabetes medication and the stroke medication. And my mom was instructed immediately to buy him the medication with immediate effect, because they thought, my mom at this point, by the time she was taking him back, thought that the medication that he was prescribed initially was not working. So my mom took him to hospital. My mom bought the medication. They came back from Kisii, and my mom told me, come and see him. So I traveled. My parents live in Kajiado County, but our original home is in Kisii County. We also have another home in Machakos County. So I am a Kenyan. My ID, actually, the back of my ID is written Machakos County. So I am a true Kenyan child. So I traveled all the way to Loitoktok, where they live. I reached there and my father was not talking. So that Saturday morning when I saw him, he was not talking. I told my mom how his sugar. I asked my mom how were his sugar levels. So my little brother tested him, and the sugar levels were at 33. So every time his sugar levels were high, they will take him to a nearby pharmacy or the nearby health center to have him on drip, on the drip, ile maji kuwekewa maji, that one, so that he can the sugar levels can come down. So that particular Saturday, because the previous week my mom had tried taking him to hospital and he refused to get admitted. So they brought him back home. So on this Saturday, as we were at the chemist, because I was with him, the nurse there, the attendant rather, told me, you have to take him to a hospital, because we can't just keep controlling his sugar levels using the drip. You have to take him to hospital for further treatment, because at this point he had seizures, a lot of them, and then he will just be eating, and then that thing will just like it be like it's attacking him or something, and he was not talking at all. Up until the day he died, he was not talking. So, and he was also drooling by the time I saw him. So that Saturday night, we took him to Makindu Medical. Makindu Medical is a private hospital, but they refused to admit him, and they said their beds were full, so we should just try the general hospital. I personally do not like public hospitals. I have my reservations towards them, and I am sorry to the public hospitals and any healthcare provider who might be watching this video and who works at a public facility, but I do not trust them, because I have seen a lot of negligence. I have seen people die because they are ignored in public facilities, and our healthcare system really needs to do better. I'm not blaming anybody or anything, but I have seen things happen in my lifetime. I have seen people get permanent injuries because they were not attended to in time. So I had my reservations, but at that particular point we did not have a choice, so we had to take him there. So we took him. Immediately they started attending to him. They injected him with the drug so that he can at least relax and sleep, and then we took him to the ward, so he was admitted. So Saturday came, and I think that is probably the last time I saw him responsive, the last time I saw him walk, the last time I saw his eyes open. After that, he was just like, he was comatose. That is the best word I can use to describe what happened after that. So we took him we admitted him. He was admitted at around 1 a.m. So by the time I was going back home, I left my mom at the hospital to be the caregiver, because they told me I can't be the caregiver. So my mom was left at the hospital. I went back home at around 4 a.m. that day. So when I came back the following day now, rather early during the afternoon on Sunday, he was still unresponsive, was still not eating. By this time, he had not eaten a meal in like 2 weeks. So I asked the doctors if it was possible for him to be fed through the tubes again. They said no, that we should try feeding him normally. But he was not responsive, because even when we would like wake him up to give him a cup of uji, he would not be able to swallow it. It will just all of it will just come down out of his mouth. So he wasn't doing anything. So I tried, and then this nurse particularly told me that I am having anxiety and they're handling our patient, and if they did not have the powers to handle our patient, they would have told us so that they can refer him. So you see, you cannot really argue with that. So I told them, okay, fine, at least let's wait and see what happens. So we waited, and the following day, still it was the same. His sugar levels were not coming down. He was still not eating anything. In fact, the more he stayed at the hospital, the worse he became. And we were buying everything for ourselves: the insulin, the drip water, the medication. So the only thing the hospital was providing for us were the doctors and the hospital bed. So on Monday, I called 2 of my doctor friends, and I told them my dad is in hospital. So they asked me, what is he being treated for? So I went back and I followed with the doctors who were handling him. So I felt like maybe if they tell me what they are handling, or rather what their diagnosis was, then we will be able to know how to handle it. So this doctor told me that he had DKA. DKA is when a person's body, this is the explanation they give me, a person's body stops producing insulin on its own, and then the liver goes into shock and produces some sort of fat or something, and it goes to the brain, so it gives the brain some shock So the sugar levels rise that much, because they told me that according to the urine they had tested, it was full of sugar. So they told me they were actually handling it, because the only way to handle it was through the fluids they were putting into his system. But my red flag was, he's not eating anything, and he has not eaten anything in like 2 weeks. Is there anything you guys can do that can make him eat? So they said the general physician was coming on Tuesday, so we should wait for the next steps. So the physician came on Tuesday. Then he said that my father did not have the stroke that they had actually initially diagnosed him with. And he said that he should be administered the food through tubes. And I don't know, he said a couple of things. But none of those things were ever done. And then now, come Wednesday, my father was going from bad to worse. In fact, the two doctors I had spoken to, my friends, they had asked me, is he in ICU or HDU? And I'm like, no, he's at the general ward. One of them was really, really concerned because of the fact that he told me 48 hours later, your father would have at least started responding. So if he's not responding, then that is a red flag. You should really try to do something, maybe change him hospitals and all that. But the doctors were really adamant that they knew what they were doing and that we should let them do their work. So come Wednesday, I had come back, because I had come back on Tuesday. So come Wednesday, I call my mama, ask her. She tells me he is not doing okay, and we should really consider transferring him. In fact, on that day there was no insulin in the hospital, and they had not even asked us to buy insulin. So insulin, it took like 2 hours before insulin had to be borrowed from I don't know which ward for him to be injected with. So my mom was really worked up and said, tomorrow my husband is being transferred out of this hospital, and even told the nurse on duty, write that in your night report that tomorrow my husband is out of this hospital. Sadly, he did not reach that tomorrow. So on Wednesday, weird things happened in my house, because I was at home. At around 3, my electricity just went off. And then it kept coming and going, and then it will come back very, very dim. And I just had this heavy feeling. Like when my little brother died, I felt weird about it. When my grandmother died, it was the same thing. So when this also happened, I was like, yo, I don't have a good feeling about this. But I was in denial. Like, I was like, nah, God can't really do this. Like, God cannot do this at all, right? So at around 10 p.m., I decided to just pray. So I went to my bedroom, I prayed and told God to just heal my father and make him reach the following morning. That was on Thursday morning. But I think as I was praying, God was also taking his soul. So when I just said amen, I got a missed call from a friend of mine. So I called her. As we were like basically a minute into that phone call, as she was asking me how my dad was doing, and then I saw my mother calling me, but through my father's line. And I knew at that point my father was dead. And before I even picked that phone call, I was like, God, I hope this is not true. But I picked that phone call, and my mother told me, your father has died. So I hung up on her. I called her again, like less than a minute later, and I asked her, are you sure he is dead? And she told me, yes. The doctor just came to check his pressure, and he's dead. Because earlier on, my mom had complained to me that his breathing got a little bit faster. So she went, the same thing had happened on Monday night, and the doctors had rushed in and put him on oxygen. So she went to ask for oxygen. The nurse said, I have had. So 2 hours later was when they were bringing in the oxygen. So my mother was very mad at them and told them to just take the oxygen away because he was dead anyway. So if they had brought the oxygen earlier, I don't know, maybe the story would have been different. So he comes, so my mother was very mad because after 20 minutes into his death, The mortuary attendants were there picking up the body and all that, and my mother was very, very angry. She was like, you guys took 2 hours to bring oxygen, but you're taking only 20 minutes to come pick the body. Like, you know, the anger that comes with losing your loved one and feeling that maybe more should have been done, but it was not done. So that is how he died. So I went back. I traveled home the following morning. We transferred his body from the Makindu General Sub-County Hospital to Kilome Mortuary, where his body was up until when we transported him all the way to Kisii County. So one thing I have learned is I do not want to be buried physically. I want to be cremated when I die. Like, it is good because this is a decision. I've not made that decision now, no, but it became stronger after everything that I've experienced during this time. My mom and I are always telling, we're always telling our dad, like me, my mom and my dad, we always spoke about how we want our death handled. So my mom is always like, me, I want to be cremated. I'm always like, if I die before you guys, please cremate me. My dad just like, just take me back to the village. So we took him back to the village. According to the Kisii tradition of burying here, because we have 2 homes in Kisii, so he had to stop in the first home because that is not where we were burying him for a while, and then go to the second home now where he was born in the village, to bury him there, where my late grandmother, his mother, and my little brother were buried. So we reached home. We started that journey at around 6 a.m. from Loitoktok, and we reached home at around 8 p.m. And of course, with the Kisii morning culture, there's drama, there's screams, there's so much that goes on with that death. So the following day, now we buried him, and of course it's just a normal burial and all that. And yeah, I think that was the hardest day, the Friday that we buried him on the 16th, sorry, because watching his casket go down the soil was so hard for me. It was so hard to watch. I was just seated somewhere, and I was called to pick some sand and throw it into some soil, and throw it into the casket, but I was unable to do that because I did not want to say goodbye, because that meant forever. And that has been very hard for me to accept that he is gone. And sometimes, I'm not, I can't say that ever since he died that I am fully sad. No, some days are good. Some days I just wake up, I remember the good things about him, and I'm like, yeah. And some days I remember how peaceful he looked in that coffin, and I'm like, yeah, maybe now he's not feeling the pain. He's not taking medication anymore. So that is a good thing, right? But then some days I feel like he should be here. And those are the hardest days, because and that is how I have come to learn, that is how grief operates. Like, I'm not new to grief. I lost my grandmother, who was my best friend. I lost my little brother, and with their loss, it's always been like a forever thing, because when grief does not go away, let nobody lie to you that you will move on. You don't move on. You heal and learn to live with the memories, learn to live with the fact that at one point this person was in my life, and that felt very beautiful. It's what I can call a permanent heartbreak. You know, the way on a normal day, maybe like when you're heartbroken with somebody you just met and all that, in a few months you forget about them. You don't really care about them, and they're not really a priority. But this is not somebody who you met. This is somebody who you have known your whole life. So how do you say goodbye? How do you unlearn to love this person who you have known your whole life? Do you see where it is? So I see people telling me, oh, it's finally happy that you're moving on. I can't move on, guys. It does not work like that. If I would have moved on, then it means that I would have forgotten at some point that I had a little brother that I loved so much and he loved me too. I would have forgotten the fact that my grandmother, in fact, when we were in the village, people were coming and saying, oh, you're the little girl that your grandma used to carry on your back all the time. Like, me and my grandmother had that bond, and my parents really struggled to separate the two of us. So imagine telling me to just move on from that. It's very hard. So when my father went, in fact, on the night that he died, I felt cold. It felt very cold that particular night because I did not know. I felt like his warmth had left me, and now it was just me. That is the exact feeling I felt on that particular night. So I don't know nowadays when people ask me the question, how are you doing? I don't know how to answer that question because I can't say I'm not fine because I don't know if I am fine or not. But I also can't say I am okay. So nowadays I have come up with a new way, and I tell people I have seen better days, because there are the okay-ish days, and then there are the ghetto days where everything just does not make sense. Okay, so when I tell you guys, and I say this, please, I said this on my socials, I can't be there for you at the moment. I cannot support you with any form of counseling, any form of referrals, nothing. I can't. Not because I don't care about what I do or the HIV advocacy that I do. In fact, there's so much going on in the background in terms of HIV advocacy in my life. But I just want that small break, so that my emotions can come in tune, because I can't carry you and your situations when my situation is out here weighing me down. So please, I really just ask that you guys just be a little bit patient with me. And thank you to everybody who has been there for me. Thank you to people who've sent me playlists of sad songs. They make me cry more, but I think it is what it is, right? And thank you for everybody who contributed. I am really grateful, especially for that, because we would probably never have been able to make it to the village and take his body all the way. That was extremely expensive. I'm not even going to lie to you. It was extremely expensive. And thank you to everybody who sent me all the love and all the messages, and everybody who keeps checking on me and asking me how I am, even though you know that the answer is not going to be I am fine. But thank you for that. 2022 has really been that year that has broken my heart. I don't know, man. This year, this year is that year where good things and bad things are happening in all of them, in a balanced scale, and you don't know how to handle it. You don't know if I don't say thank you to God, will I be looking like I'm ungrateful? This year has been that year. But I still thank the people who've been there for me, like the people who've just taken their time to just be there for me. And it's hard. It is not easy. I can tell you, grief is a permanent pain. And it's not something that in 3 months' time she will be fine. No. My brother passed on 22 years ago. And I miss him every day. My grandmother passed on 16 years ago, and she is in my heart every day. Oh, and my dreams too. And my father just passed on. So my father opened a wound that was starting to heal, that was starting to accept. Now every time I was in the village, everybody was like, you're the little girl, your grandmother really carried you on your back, your legs became like this. And I didn't know how to react to those people, because they were also opening another wound that was already healing. So I'm not new to grief, but this one opened wounds that I was learning to live with. and also opened, also started a whole new wound that I have to learn to live with. The other day, my brother called me and we were talking, and he told me, now our father is not alive. And I'm like, yeah, he decided to leave us that way. And yeah, but it gets easier with time. It's just that there's no timeline. So when you see me sad, please leave me alone, or send me a hug, or send me vodka or chocolates or whatever. And if you see me happy, also give me a hug, because yeah, I've really tried to be very happy at that point. But do not call me strong, because right now I refuse to identify as a strong girl. Okay. So anyway, thank you for listening to my video to this particular point. If I disappear from here from time to time, please just understand. But I'll keep creating content, and I'll keep being there for you guys when I get a moment. Okay. But for now, just like and subscribe and share this video if you want to, and share all my other videos. And I will see you when I see you. Bye bye.